Hey guys, it's Danny, Roots of Ambition. Well, I had a lot of people ask me why start a podcast, why be another podcast. When if you know me very well, a lot of people don't know me, but my circle knows me very well. If I'm gonna do anything, it's gotta be different, it's gotta be unique, it's gotta be crystal clear that it's coming from my heart. Roots of Ambition was born throughout conversations with other men, mainly people like Angel, my brother, my other brothers, Ivan, Juan. When we're alone and we're talking like men and we're talking about circumstances and situations, whether it be with our kids, with our wives, with our friends, business, strangers, other entrepreneurs, we talk about things that are important, and sometimes we don't realize just how important they are until we really diagnose those conversations. Well, there's been a few times that I've talked to Angel, and I realized very quickly that I think we have something here. I think that we're not listening or hearing other people's podcasts uniquely the same as the conversations we're having by ourselves. I think that we have something that we can coach, teach, and help other people, other men, right? Fathers, right? Uncles, brothers, even mothers as well, to let them in to what we do and how we talk and the way we look at the world. So Angel and I had so many conversations in the backyard where we feel we can change the world, right? We feel that we can literally help. We can literally help other men. I look at life like this. We're all in this race together, right? We're all climbing this mountain. I always use that analogy because that's the way I see it in my head. Life is a mountain that we're all climbing. There's different obstacles. There's challenges. There's potholes. There's alligators. There's snakes. There's thorns, right? And some of us go through these caves that we shouldn't have been going through. Right, but in some cases, very well for most men, you go through those caves and you learn very quick that that's just not a cave that you should be involved in. And I think that we're here to show you or to at least tell you from our experiences why those caves weren't good, right? And the other way I like to say it is we all go through different doors in life, and some doors kick your ass, right? And some doors you shouldn't have just never been through there because now it just made your life a lot harder. And Roots of Ambition is a direction that we want to go in where we can share our stories, right? Share our triumphs, our failures, our beginnings, and be able to teach the next man, next young woman, a little bit of our story. So hopefully, like they say, a wise man learns from other people's mistakes. So I'm here to tell you, everyone who doesn't really know me very well, the mistakes that I've been through, the decisions that I've made that kicked me in the butt, right? And I hope that if I'm talking to someone who's 20 years old, that you're opening your ears. You're listening to what I have to say, because I'm not trying to point you in that wrong door, that wrong direction. I'm trying to tell you, don't go through that. It's not worth it, right? That's the Roots of Ambition for you. That's what we're trying to get that point directly to you. But we also want to bring people in here who have been more successful than us, right? And maybe they're also going to teach me and Angel, and they're going to teach you what doors they went through, right? So if you're wise enough and if you're smart enough, take down some notes, listen, learn, right? We're going to teach you. We're going to help you. We're going to point you in the right direction faster so we can cut your time in half so you don't make the same mistakes we did. Angel?
No, hey, cheers. Cheers, my friend.
Cheers, brother. Cheers.
No, thank you, Danny. I agree. I mean, the Roots of Ambition at some point was maybe a pipe dream.
Yeah, 100%.
And, I think we came up with this idea so many times, and I think sometimes we were like, okay, we had too many drinks. Like, you know what I mean? But then we keep kind of circling to it. Like, okay, wait, we keep having these. As a matter of fact, there was times where I actually recorded and, things that will stay private and never be shared out there because we had a little too many drinks. But but there was something there, and I think what we always kept coming back to was we have a unique story individually. He has a unique story. I have a unique story that we can share. And, you know, I'm not here to say that I know everything, because I definitely don't, or I can share all the possible mistakes out there. But I can certainly share the mistakes I made, the mistakes he can share, the mistakes he's made, and hopefully help you move forward and start from a better starting point. Because if we can share our stories, and whether it's you learn something from us, or you get just inspired and you get motivated and you continue on the path you're already on, or you start a new path, that's what we want to share. That's where we really thought about the name, and I think we must have come up with 100 different names.
Yes.
But we didn't want a name to mean nothing to us. We wanted a name that really meant something to us. And so that's how we came up with the roots of ambition. Like, what is the root of your ambition? Because that is really the topic oftentimes of our conversations. Like, hey, Danny, I seen you be so successful and you're doing so great, and you have 2 businesses and you just have this drive. What is the root of your ambition? That is the constant and common conversation we have with each other. And, you know, Donnie and I met on the way up. You know, he was working for another company. I think when I met you, a technician, you know, at this company. And I was on my way up, and I had this ambition. And it's funny because it was really ambition, because at the time when I shared with everybody, sometimes even the people that I work with at the time, I wanted to be where I'm at now. And it seemed funny to them, because I don't like to say the bottom, because it was at a different point in my life, in my career, but quote unquote the bottom, right? And that's where I met Danny. And Danny was in a similar situation, right? He was succeeding, but he was working for somebody, and he was not where he's at now. And so we met, and we really we clicked, and we had similar stories, even though in many ways very different. But the root of the ambition was similar, even though we grew up in different situations. And so we want to make sure that we're sharing those stories, and that we can show you that it can happen. And even though that people might doubt you, you can do it. Like, oftentimes, even your spouse, even your family is gonna doubt you. And you know what? More than your family, more than your spouse, sometimes you're gonna doubt yourself. And that's the hardest part. And that's the part that is so hard to go push through it. And understand that your mind is just a tool. Because if you let it listen to it, your mind has been conditioned to the things that you've been conditioned to. So if you've been in a situation that conditions you to think weak, to think lack, to think that you cannot do it, then that's what the only thing you're gonna be able to imagine. And so we want to be able to show you through our stories, and through your stories when you come to our podcast, and we share your stories and your unique stories and your unique origin stories and root of your ambition. When we share that, we hope that we can actually embrace people to actually do what they want to do, what they imagine themselves they could be. And so that is why we started this. You know, this is something that for me specifically has been hard, because I don't usually put myself out there, and being in front of a camera and putting myself on social media is not something that I am used to. But I want to do something for other people. I want to be able to encourage other people. And I see, you know, I know Danny, but I also know many other people that I'm so proud, and I seen grow. And I'm like, oh my God, this is so amazing. in my career in the company I work at, I've seen people start from the bottom and just, get to better situations. I seen Danny went from working from somebody to literally, and he loves to say this and he means it, and I love this saying, is burning the ship and saying, screw it, we're gonna go for it. I'm gonna gamble on myself and I'm gonna start a business. I remember meeting Danny at this Italian restaurant when he told me he was gonna start this business, and I've told him since almost the day I met him, like, dude, you got what it takes to start your business. What are you doing? And I remember when he told me in that restaurant, and I went out to dinner with my family and his family, and I remember on the drive back telling my wife, it's like, dude, this is so amazing. Like, he's doing it. And now seeing it that he made that company successful and he started a new company, he's made it successful. And so he's been going to podcasts, and I'm like, Danny, we got to share the story.
Yes.
But we got to be able to share the story the way we want to share the story. And we want to bring other people, they have those stories, and be able to share it with the world and highlight you. And if you're an entrepreneur, we want to learn from you. We want to learn your habits. We want to learn what you do. We want to learn what books you read. And because the idea here is, the reality is that as successful as Danny is, as successful as I am, we don't have all the answers. We are certainly not the smartest people in the room all the time. No, we claim that we are, but we want to also bring people so we learn from you.
Yeah.
I want to learn, like, what are you doing so I can share what I'm doing, and you get better, I get better. I want it to be great for everybody. And that's, we want to highlight people of all types. We want to highlight people that grew up in the struggle, people that grew up with money but have, other mental issues, or they have struggles with family, everything. We want to talk about fatherhood. Both me and Danny have kids, and this isn't often a topic that we talk about, because fatherhood is very important, because we are the ones that are planting the seed, and we are programming these kids. And so it's our job to make sure they don't have to spend the first 10, 20, 30 years of their life on doing what we did. We want to start them in a good point. We want them to think of us as fathers, as a father figure, as a resource, as a mentor, not as their inner critic that's constantly second guessing them and telling them, you can't do this, you're not good enough. We don't want them to think that way. We want them to say, you know what, I can do it because my dad has my back. That's what we want to do. And if you're a business person, we want to hear that story too, so that we can share that, because we know that you also have those stories. And everybody has a different root of their ambition. And I know I have mine. What is the root of your ambition, Danny?
Ooh-wee. Guys, burning the ships has always been something that I've always carried in my heart. My root definitely started in Southeast San Diego, Logan Heights. A lot of people who are going to listen to this are going to hear this and relate very close to me. I want you guys to understand that it doesn't matter where you start. It all matters on what you're doing today, right? We all have a beginning and we all have an end. But the one thing that we do and we all need to understand that we can control is what we're doing right now. Your decision that you make right now, right? What decisions are you making right now? And that's my ambition, is to really understand and make people understand that. My ambition, my root started in San Diego, working with my mom and seeing her struggle. The house I grew up in, the poverty we grew up in, the Section 8 housing that we lived in, the neighborhood that we lived in. Everyone was struggling. Everyone was trying to pay their bills. Everyone was doing things that they shouldn't have been doing just to make a dollar, right? I was blessed enough to be surrounded with some folks that did have a brighter mind to be able to teach me and give me dimes in my bucket to make me think a little bigger, right? Teach me how to make my own money, right? Knocking on doors, cutting people's grasses, washing cars for them, right? Being told many times, no, get the hell out of here, kid. Get out of here, right? I would go to 20, 30 houses and one would give me the opportunity to wash your cars for $5, right? That's when my root of ambition started. Working with my mom in Coronado, cleaning hotels, cleaning apartments, cleaning condominiums, washing things, vacuuming, washing dishes, cleaning windows, scrubbing stuff, doing whatever it took. But that made me understand one thing. If I want to get myself or my mother into a better situation as I get older, I need to get better. I need to work harder. I need to understand. I need to be a leader, right? My ambition started at a very early age, and I held on to that. I held on to it like a samurai sword, and I carried that in my heart. I knew when I get older, I knew very, very young, my imagination was going to carry that ambition to who I am today. Ladies and gentlemen, Roots of Ambition is very big. It's very, very big. I really want you to say that to yourself. What is your root of ambition? If you're a man, if you're married, you're the leader, you're the patriarch of your family. What are you doing? How are you doing it to get yourself or your family out of the situation you're in? Because it starts with you and it ends with you. Roots of Ambition, we're coming to you.
Just like Danny was sharing his, mine started in Mexico. Mine started, I was raised in Mexico in Huentitan, Jalisco, a really poor area, especially at the time. It was filled with drugs. It was filled with crime. It was poverty everywhere. But the biggest thing, it was, because you were in this poverty, there was different mentality that I grew up with, that I had to learn how to get out of. And I love the way I grew up. I don't regret anything. I would not do it again in a different way. Mm-hmm. However, from the beginning, I knew there was something better for me. I knew I wanted to do better for my mom, for my brothers. I'm the oldest of 4, and I wanted to do better. I grew up with a single mom that works, 16 to 18 hours a day. And I just saw how hard it was for her to live and to just try to provide. And, I'm grateful for the things she provided for us. But the reality, there was a lot of lack. There was not enough, on all aspects. We didn't have enough time with her because she was always working. We didn't have money. We didn't have enough food. We lived in a household that, it was, 18 people, maybe more, in an 1,100 square feet house. So I knew there was something better. And then I had an opportunity to come briefly to the United States when I was younger for about a year and a half. And that just opened my eyes. And I was like, no, there's something better. So when I came back, I was like, no, absolutely not. There's something better. I can do better, and I will do better. Not just for me. I've always, and to be honest, this is something that I've always been, I've been judged over it. People have questioned me because I could have gotten here and I could be probably farther ahead if I would only think of myself.
Right.
But for me, and it's different for everybody, I don't judge you if you do, everybody has different situations. But for me, I've always wanted to do better for myself and others, specifically my family. I really wanted to put my mom and my brothers in a better situations so that when they had kids, which they have now, they had a better life. That was always been a goal of mine, and it was drove me. That is really what has fueled my ambition, and that's what's gotten me here, and that's what I want us to share.